The Batmail is a cool movie about some rich guy pressing his ops all by himself. I know it's been a while since I made this type of video, but I was tired of not uploading, and the original stuff takes more time, so in the meantime, we'll be going over the plot. The movie begins with a rando song, and some nigga breathing too hard on the mic. Like when I first watched it, I felt like I had to turn to my left to tell the guys to chill out, but it was coming from the screen. Then we see some guy talk about the election or something, because he's the mayor, running against a Negro woman, and for some reason, he didn't have the common sense to just rig the election. Like in real life, I mean, he might as well. Like, who's gonna stop him? But then the nigga that was breathing too hard earlier shows up and puts him on a shirt, so I guess he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. So it cuts to the streets, and we see the scums of society sucking up too much air as usual, but they're also kind of pussies. Cause the mere sight of Batman's logo is enough to get them on the run. Like, there's this one gang that has a bunch of guys, anywhere from 35 to 15, trying to beat up a rando. Hold on a minute, cause we gotta talk about this. Since when we're grown-ass men just riding trains looking for people to harass? Like, don't you have ops? I get the worthless high schoolers doing it, but that one leader guy's too old to be out here. So the Batmail shows up and hoes all of them. I mean, of course he does. But he leaves like one teenager that the camera kept focusing on alone, cause I guess he wasn't as annoying as the other gang members or something. After that, Batmail was called to the mayor's crib to help the bum-ass cops investigate who did it, cause it turns out somebody that's not on their payroll is doing their job for them, and better anyway, which is a pretty bad but standard look. But yeah, they find something that needs to be decoded, and also some guy in 12 is mad that Batmail is getting all the attention instead of him, so he makes him piss off. So the Bat goes back to his cave, where he acts like kind of a dick to his slave, and also decodes the hints, and it shows the mayor was working with the mob or something, and also had a woman with him. So the Batmail goes to do something about it. The Bat goes to a nightclub, and bullies his way into a meeting with the ostrich, who's like the owner or something. I mean, he's in charge of the nightclub, but he's not the leader of the gang that really owns it. He's like the chairman or something. But while he's meeting with the ostrich, none of his henchmen have the common sense to snipe him or anything, because that would make too much sense. Some woman keeps staring too hard at the picture that Batmail has, so he knows she's connected somehow. After the meeting is concluded, the Bat stalks the woman all the way back to her crib, where he finds that she lives with the girl in the picture, with the mayor, and to make things simple, we're going to call her Foreign Girl. So Foreign Girl is tweaking out, because now she's been compromised, it may be up for her, and the woman from the club tells her it's going to be okay, because she has an escape plan ready. So as the woman leaves the crib, the Bat continues to stalk her, until they meet up at the mayor's crib, where the woman, who's also the cat by the way, is trying to steal something, but the Bat stops her. Also, I actually can't tell if they already know each other or not, because they acted like strangers in some parts after this, but their relationship develops so quickly, it feels too rushed, but whatever. The Foreign Girl ends up MIA, so the Bat and the cat team up to put a stop to this. Also, that 112 guy that was on the Bat's dick heavy got clipped on live, so that was an L for him. The Bat has the cat wear contacts that can process what she sees in HD 4K, and he wants her to follow this one attorney around after he talks about how they're going after the guys that put away the last crime boss. But then the current crime boss catches the cat's attention, so she decides to do the Bat dirty and focus on him instead. The one attorney guy tries to get his dick wet with the cat, but when that doesn't work, he gets violated by the main villain. So the Bat goes dressed as his real self to the mayor's funeral, where he meets some guy just yapping about something that doesn't matter, and also, he sees the mayor's son, which puts him in his feelings, but then a car crashes in, and he has to save the fetus, and it turns out it was driven by the attorney, who has a bomb strapped to him, the main villain that calls on livestream, and makes him answer questions or get put in a shirt, so he has to get the Chicos from the Bat, cause he's low IQ. But then the last question is about who helped them take down the last mob boss, and apparently it's such a big bad secret, they'd rather get blown to the next dimension than answer, so that's what happens. After that one guy gets blown up, the Bat somehow survives being in close contact with the bomb, and gets taken to the 12 layer, where he has to fake an interaction with the useful 12 guy and escape, and somehow, all these bum-ass cops can't take one man down, but you know, what else can you expect? Because the hints from the villain on who the snitch is have something to do with the bird, the Bat and that one useful 12 guy thinks the ostrich, so they find him doing some illegal activities, and also the foreign woman pack is there, and the cat sees it, so you know there's problems. The guys with blicks get on their asses, and initially it's the hardest scene in any movie I've seen in the last 2 years. Like seriously, this scene is so hard that even niggas that think this movie is lame at least admit this scene was cool. How the Bat and ostrich could just fuck over like 20 people in their chase, and there's like no legal repercussions after, but whatever, it was still hard. But then when they log into the main villain approved website, they find out the ostrich was not the snitch, and they have to let him go, I guess. Also, after some more clue finding, the Bat learns the main villain was an orphan, and he's after all the guys who have clout in the city, because they didn't give any to his broke ass. So he sends a letter to the Bat's crib, but only his slave was there, and it was a bomb that considerably lowers the slave's HP, but he somehow survives. Then the Bat and the cat have a reunion, where she reveals that the reason she was on the mob boss's ass was because he's actually her father, who didn't raise her, then got her mom clipped, so she's trying to get her get back. But first, they need to get one of those bum-ass cops to tell them more. Also, the main villain releases another regularly scheduled terrorist message and snitches on the Bat's dad for having some journalists sent to the Shadow Realm before almost telling everyone how his wife had a mental illness. And you know the Bat doesn't want to believe his parents were weirdos, so he goes as his real self to the current mob boss, who confirms the story, and then said the former mob boss had his parents put on the news because they were too close to the current mob boss. Then immediately afterwards, he goes to a slave who tells him, yeah, your dad may have hired a mob boss, but he didn't know he would clip the reporter, and when he got his feelings over it, the mob boss clipped him too. And you know, I don't have much against these seasons themselves, but the fact they go back to back was kinda lame to me. Like, I'm not gonna cap to you. So then the Bat and the Useful 12 guy meet up with the cat and some bum cop, and it's through him they find out the current mob boss was a snitch on the old mob boss, and he had the foreign girl put in the ground because the mayor told her. So now the cat is off to get it back in blood. There's some big fight in the nightclub place, and the Bat tries to stop the cat from getting her get back for some reason. During all this, the mob boss actually gets the upper hand and plans to get rid of his own daughter, but then the Bat bails her out and puts him in cuffs, while the Useful 12 guy leaks that he was the snitch all along. So the ostrich isn't happy about that, but before anything can happen, the mob boss gets put in the dirt by the main villain because he's a sniper somewhere, but he wasn't fast enough to cover his tracks, and they find him in a diner, and he looks like a nerd, so all the cops come through and put him in a cell. Then the Bat meets up with him for more answers, and he reveals that he thought the Bat was cool, and he was working with him or something, and he doesn't know who the Bat really is, because he said the billionaire was a loser, who doesn't know what it's like to be an orphan. Also, the villain reveals there's more planned, but the Bat's not on board, so then the Bat shuts all that dissing down, and tells the main villain he's a bum-ass dweeb that he doesn't respect, which causes him to moan about it. Then the Bat goes to the villain's crib, where he uncovers the plans to flood the city with the rest of the niggas in his chats, while the mayor's giving her speech, because I guess all those guys who did nothing to him in the audience can get hood as far as he's concerned. So while the villain stands are acting up, the Bat has to step in and stop them, but when he gets put in his ass, the cat bails him, returning the favor from earlier. So the movie wraps up with the Bat helping the city recover from the attack, while the cat leaves the city because it's a cesspool of nonsense and degeneracy, and she wants the Bat to come with her, but if he does, then there will be no one to press the ops. Also, the main villain's still moaning in his cell, so the Joker tells him that he has a friend in him, like his Toy Story or something. Overall, I think it was a W movie.